Hi, my name is Andrik Lopez, and my theme is how the music affect in the 70s decade. In this documentary, I'm gonna be covering how the music was related with the events during the 70s and what were the main events during the decade. I'm also gonna name some important characters over the 70s decade and what were their function in the role. Coming from a devastating century, the USA and the world suffered a stock market crash during the year 1929. A couple years after that, in 1941, the Second World War started and ended in the year 1945. After those devastating wars, in 1947, the US joined the Cold War against the Soviet Union. The civil rights also started with big figures like Martin Luther King Jr. in 1963. Also, the Vietnam War started in 1955, but the US joined until the 60s. The music had a big influence in the 70s with the civil rights movement and the anti-war movement, creating protest songs like Blowin' the Wind by Bob Dylan in 1962 or Imagine by John Lennon in 1971. That made the young people have a different perspective about the war during the 70s, creating subgenres of music like the rock pop and the rap. People like Lyndon B. Johnson and Richard Nixon, that were the presidents in that decade, was hated by the young people because of the draft bill and the Vietnam War. Also because of the segregation to African Americans and Latinos in the whole country, making this decade a very controversial decade with the scandals like the Watergate scandal and the massive arrest of people in the Washington DC 1971 protest. All these events made people create movements like the hippie movement and also give them inspiration to express their freedom speech against the things that were going around the world, and also generate some pressure in the government to change the way that they were doing the things. For example, they finally withdrew on Vietnam and stopped the segregation in the country. This theme had a big impact in the whole world, creating movements like the US rap during the early 2000s or the Mexican corridos during the early 2010s. It made a lot of change on how people nowadays can make a song singing about whatever they want to say without somebody making them fear for their lives or having a political persecution.